A horrific and nightmarish depiction there of Deckard Cain, courtesy of Xaylia. Thank you very much for that. It will haunt my dreams forever. And of course, at the moment, we have Fnatic 1-0 up against Dignitas right now after a strong showing from them in game number 1. And overall, I think it came as quite a bit of a surprise to some people here, Kaldor.
I definitely think it did, and you can call me among one of those that were surprised. The big question with Dignitas is how do they react under pressure now? Because at this point, you lose to a team in the first map where you're supposed to win this, and you're supposed to win it dominantly, heading forward on your way back to the grand final. So right now, we're in a situation where Dignitas is losing a match. And since the team was formed, the question was always, what happens when they stop winning?
We're also now heading to what has been considered to be a very good map for Fnatic. Dignitas have found success here as well, heading back to the composition Trick mentioned in game 1, the Stitches composition.
Yeah.
But Fnatic, they've already played this map in this tournament, and they were very proficient on it.
Well, it's time to get into game number 2 here at the moment. Fnatic leads 1-0 against Team Dignitas. Will the hashtag mid-season magic continue for Fnatic?
Well, let me just give some numbers to what Tetra just said, how good this map is for Fnatic compared to Dignitas. Now, Fnatic has a 5-3 track record in Europe on the map, so 63% win ratio. And when we compare that to Dignitas, Dignitas is 6-3, so higher in the win rate. But if you compare it to the average win rate that Dignitas has, which is 83%, it is by far one of their worst maps. So it's definitely one of the maps where they have shown in European League play that they are beatable, and Fnatic is going to be very comfortable heading into the second game on 2.
Right.
My hope is that Dignitas can pull through here, because I feel like when Dignitas does fall, they fall pretty hard, or the ball is at least dropped for a match or two, and then they bounce back pretty darn well. But within that match, I need to see that adaptation, and here is where that has to really come to light. And as you mentioned, a battleground that is a little bit more difficult compared to the others for them. I'm a little worried, so I'm hoping coming into this game number 2, they're set up, they have a draft that they want, and they, of course, make sure that they are taking into effect what Fnatic picks up, because the draft was just so strong for Fnatic going into game number 1 that Dignitas needs to punch some holes here and there.
It was also the execution that worried me. Sorry.
This time, we were talking so much about the fact that it was Dignitas who really banned out the Malfurion in the last game. This time, we are seeing the swap around, with Fnatic removing that Malfurion straight away, and we already saw how comfortable they were not having to use it last time.
But that exactly makes way more sense for me. Fnatic banning it out and not Dignitas. So, as you said, like that makes a lot of sense for them here. And you can see how Fnatic, with the priority of picks that they had in the last game, which they now mirror here too, are heavily focusing on that front line. First of all, they're taking Blaze again immediately. Another good map for him, and it feels like it's a hero that Benny in particular feels a bit more comfortable on. They had him on a lot of Dehaka, and that was a bit hit or miss. And now they don't need a global here, so Blaze is a good choice. And with Johanna at the front, they have now even more wave clear. So they are really flexible with the rest of that draft when it comes to a wave clear on Tomb.
Well, one of my questions revolving around that is it because on Tomb they feel their DPSs have a bit of a deeper hero pool? You could get away with a Lunar if you really needed to. You could get away with a Gul'dan even, those kinds of things.
It just gives you protection for heroes that don't have the mobility that you normally see on a lot of the heroes that are in the higher tiers of meta. And also, because people are getting so much better at running bunker. We've seen it in this tournament. When you drop a Leoric in Tomb and attempt to pick somebody off, a bunker right next to it suddenly gives you an escape, right? There's so many ways to play with Blaze. It's just a strong setup to immediately pull into your draft. Now, speaking about strong setup, Dignitas and Chromie come out.
Yeah, and Chromie is actually super interesting again. I've been talking about this a couple of times on the desk, but especially Fnatic is a team that whenever they see a Chromie in the early picks, what they normally aim for is Maiev and Muradin, or one of the two, to lock her down. So what they're looking for is every time that Chromie winds up the animation for the combo, they jump in with one of the two heroes, or both, and attack her and take her out. That has helped them to gain straight-up victories against some teams, but now with them committing to an early Johanna over a main tank Muradin and having Maiev banned out against them, that Chromie is going to be a lot safer for Dignitas in this setup.
And although Bronze Talons can be effective against Tracer, to look at the Deckard here, we've seen that matchup come out several times here, where Tracer has overall come out very much ahead in terms of matches against that Deckard Cain. So being able to pick this up now, when, for starters, you already have a ban phase where if you feel like you want to, you can ban away that Tracer, or can ban away the Jaina, but you still have that Chromie value and that Genji value to try and at least deal enough damage to Tracer to keep your Deckard Cain safe.
And as we said before, JPL really loves to run his Muradin, and that is amongst other maps also true on Tomb, where they play a lot of Muradin here. They've played Stitches, so JPL is very flexible when it comes to the tanks. But if you have a Chromie already in the lineup and you know that JPL loves to play the Dwarf, you hate to run into that stun setup through a Stormbolt where Chromie just can wail away at you.
I get a little worried because I feel like Genji, Chromie in combination are more of a feast or a famine type of strategy.
That's true.
You're either trying to wear an opponent down and have Genji clean them up, but if you're not quite landing those shots, it becomes quite difficult. And I'm wondering what tank we're going to get because we need a little bit more wave clear for this composition. If you start to get to a point where you're going to get pushed out, and Fnatic already with their 1 and 2 have wave clear, I feel like Dignitas won't be able to find those moments to get kills. I mean, Fnatic still has a chance here to move into a gold Dan. They can even still pick up a Kel'Thas again if they want to. They're going to grab the Hanzo and the Stukov for now, so they have some pretty decent clear themselves with Hanzo. You can go into Explosive Arrow, and then you have Stukov for the combinations. But Fnatic's wave clear is looking pretty darn strong for this battleground.
Yeah, Dignitas says there's very few wave clear tanks, so they might just have to go for a lane free. Stitches is what I was thinking. Maybe you're going to have... Lockdown is a little bit lacking. You're going to have to get some really good triangles to really get that combo.
There it is. Okay.
And there it is. And I was going to say, if you are going with that, Stitches still could use a little bit of help. Chromie can, of course, help with the wave clear a lot. But if you're doing that, you have to make sure your solo lane, at least, has insane wave clear so that you're not losing out there if you're struggling in the mid and top lane. So Leoric, very acceptable for that crazy lane clear, so I really like that.
But think about the way that Fnatic has been running this draft. Fnatic knows that Dignitas can play Stitches here. It's one of the most known things within Europe. And now look at the pattern that we see on Fnatic side. Blaze with a bunker.
Yeah.
You've seen how that went when other teams were trying to run Stitches. We have a Johanna with Iron Skin that can walk out or simply dodge it. And if a target gets actually hooked, you have Stukov who can put the silence in there.
Yeah.
Mena at this point can dodge a hook simply just like teleporting with Ming. He's been dodging cocoons all day long. Like he's been doing so insanely well on that hero. So that Stitches hook has to come from one of the brushes. It has to come off vision.
Yeah, it has to come basically as a surprise. Because the thing is that if you look back at our last Stitches that we had, which I think was from Method in the tournament, every single hook landed on frontliners that were able to deal with it very effectively. And that could quite easily happen here as well.
Exactly.
So we're going to go over to predictions, starting with you, Tetra.
If there's anyone I could trust to play the Stitches well enough, as these guys called it, would be JPL, but everything except for Hanzo and maybe Stukov a little on Fnatic is able to play around it. I'm going to go for Fnatic this time. I think in terms of playing around the Stitches, they've got a really solid draft.
Okay.
I'm not sure if Deckard is enough for a really good lockdown with this. You have to time that perfectly on Zelia's side. And also you don't really have the... You don't have an immediate save for any of the heroes. If Deckard is in trouble, I feel Menes Liming is going to have a field day there. I go with Fnatic again, and it goes against everything that I expected from this series.
Yeah. I think, again, I'm echoing what you guys are saying, 1 and 2. My heart is saying go with Dignitas. My brain is looking at the same. This should be a Fnatic win. Now, with that being said, I do believe in JPL when it comes to his hooks. He's always delivered every single time. I feel like if Dignitas can come out and have an explosive start, Dig can get a win, and I'm going to put my faith in it. I'm going to go with Dig here.
Well, the last time we saw Genji Chromie was with Ballistics going up against Heroes Hearth Esports on this map. And I'm going with Dignitas again, because Dignitas. So we'll see if that pays off. But as you said, it is feast or famine.
Yes.
They could potentially just miss everything and it do nothing and it look catastrophic.
Fnatic is not supposed to win this series.
You're not wrong.
It's like
but
insane to me right now.
73%. Ho, ho, ho.
I mean, they are all bribed by Mama
They're drafting right. They're playing right. It's looking really good, man.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, let's head over to our commentary team as well as we get into game at number 2. Are we mic'd up and good to go?
I'd like to think so. Yes. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
We're good. We're ready.
Okay,
That's right.
Brad, I have to say, that was your opportunity to just move your lips.
Just
not
mime.
talk, and freak out production. You completely missed it.
I'll be honest, I think we hit the red button as bad as hard as we could by the fact that it broke in the middle of that last game in the first place. So at this point, I'm just trying to stay on the good side of production.
Well, it would have been perfect. You are in a box in there, so you could have quite easily kind of done a little bit more. But anyway, have fun with the series, guys.
Very much. JPL Stitches, always a treat. Chromie versus Blaze, into that. We'll see how that's going to work out for them. What are you thinking for these drafts?
I mean, Gilly, it's a Chromie Genji. You know how I feel. There is no team in the world. I will say Dignitas is one of the best teams to maybe be able to get away with this strategy, but it is very high risk, high reward here. We're about to find out if they have what it takes, but first off, it's going to be Fnatic here on the left-hand side. Bad Benny on his Blaze. We're going to have Breeze playing Johanna. Hanzo played by Quacknick. Stukov played by Smex. And we're going to have Many on his Li Ming. Give it up for Fnatic!
Down the first game in this series, but far from out of the tournament yet. In the red, Snitch back on Genji, Zaelia playing Deckard, Kane, Poik on Chromie, JPL playing Stitches, and Wubby on Leoric. Let's hear it for Team Dignitas.
Looks like a wave stall here from Fnatic, trying to get it as far back onto their side. Actually going to aggress away from that, so just sitting behind the gate, waiting to see the response of Dignitas, and here comes a counterplay. Wubby already dropping the Wraith Walk. Nice slow from Benny, but maybe not enough damage. Wubby actually falling extremely low, and Quack with that last auto gets first blood, and that is a absolute terrible start here for Dignitas.
That does not feel good for Dignitas, not at all, especially after how dominated they were in the last game. They were so focused on Shrines, and they lost out on team fight after team fight. Picks on Snitch, picks on Wubby. Something's got to change for Team Dignitas. They have been slow to fulfill their potential this whole tournament, and there have been a lot of theories as to why. But whatever it is, they need to put that behind them starting in this game right now, because they are already down one game in this series, and if they lose this series, they are out of the tournament, and that is not what we expected from Team Dignitas.
Absolutely, is anything but what we expected from Team Dignitas here. And you know, I thought we had seen these kind of signs of struggles, especially on Wubby, because we oftentimes talk about him as one of the best off lanes to exist in all of competitive heroes, but he was getting bullied against Gen G, and you'd say, well, that is Gen G. It makes a bit of sense that, you know, the team would be pressured into kind of uncomfortable circumstances, but there is no opponent that is more comfortable than I feel like Fnatic for Team Dignitas, and so still to see that kind of pressure early as level 1 on a map like Tomb is a bad sign for Team Dignitas, but for now, Dignitas is trying to rebuttal here. JPL maybe have a hook opportunity, but not going to throw.
JPL is known for his Stitches play. Whenever in doubt, Team Dignitas could rely on Stitches, but that doesn't mean it's going to make it easy for a kill. There are a lot of different people who can get away from this, like Breeze with the Iron Skin, though they can try to burst through that, and that gets better with Poik as he levels up his Chromie. But the follow-up, the Des talked about that too, it's hard to lock someone down with what Team Dignitas have to follow that up. Hopefully maybe a time trap if they can get those set up correctly, but otherwise the timing from Deckard Kane, he does have Sapphire, so he can get the extra slow to then make sure that someone gets rooted. But Team Dignitas have a lot of work to do if they're gonna win this.
It's going to start with a bit of baby turn-ins here for Dignitas, you know, kind of drop them off wherever they might be able to, and that is, though it doesn't seem like a major composition or strategy that we often see teams kind of rely on, it does set them far apart. Hook does come in, but the Iron Skin plus the passive use there from Smex allows Breeze to kind of breathe easy there. But as I was saying, just because the risk of every skirmish from beyond that point, especially when you run an interesting composition like Dignitas has, it gets a lot more comfortable to kind of, you know, Poik, do you want to step up here and take that risk as long as there are no gems at risk? So Dignitas, though, you know, maybe the kills not looking as comfortable as they would like, they are holding their own in the laning phase.
And what it does for Team Dignitas too is if they fall behind that first Webweaver turn-in phase, it's not so dire because they've turned in a lot of their gems at a time. Let's see if we can get a hook from this time. As JPL steps forward, trying to get a slam, do some damage from that, and then hook after the fact. But yeah, if they lose out on that first Webweaver phase, then suddenly they're not faced with a lot of gems being on some of the squishy targets that they have.
Really like that decision making we saw over that top skirmishes too. Snitch actually isolating Quack next year into a 1v1, forcing out that natural agility. Dignitas, you know, did end up committing a bit of time towards that night camp as we saw the rotation out, but Fnatic tried to capitalize on that top half, getting that one turret. Zaelia going to go ahead and drop off 12 gems, and that is first Webweaver phase here of the game for Team Dignitas, but the job is not done yet. Yes, they did get the turn-ins here, but this is a very early turn-in, and more importantly, their composition relies on pick after pick here. They are not a team that can siege up very effectively. Genji, you know, he's all right, but Chromie, not the best sieger here in the world.
Yeah, a lot more about the anti-siege with that little one. But let's see if they can open up the map in a way that they can get more opportunities for hooks, take out some of the front walls. They're doing their best to clear out this top lane so they can get the Webweaver pushed as far forward as they can. They'll gravitate instead toward the mid, looking to take down some towers, get the 7 advantage, maybe just a little bit, a hair faster than Fnatic. Looking at heroic abilities, we've seen a lot of temporal loop despite things like Bunker being on the other side of the board. We'll see what Poik wants to get here in a level, but I've got my eyes on if it's going to be Gorge or Putrid Bile. Fnatic themselves have been willing to use Stay a While and Listen after a Gorge as a way of trying to counter-aggress. Do you expect the same?
That's a tough question. I'm going to say I would like to see them not take it, but purely based on that has been the trend we saw out of Europe, and also because we see the Leoric in this composition, it kind of changes how they can approach these later stages. Not only because the poking and prodding between the Chromie with the Genji opportunity to get the execution, but then they have opportunities to sacrifice Leo in weird situations where they wouldn't be able to do so before, whereas normally if that is your only combo, the Stitches hook into the Stay a While and Listen, it's not as easy and nearly as forgiving as Dignitas. There goes the
Temporal.
temporal loop onto Benny. That's 25 gems
No
maybe
buffer.
available, but no damage to get the kill. Pull back from JPL, but Fnatic breathing room there, and the fact that they were able to get them those gems off the ground.
So now Team Dignitas has chosen Temporal Loop, which means they need to get something done in this time, and they have. They are working on getting their next turn-in, but they're a long way out from that. That's that early turn-in that you mentioned before, but they got about half of this fort down in the mid. They got some damage done elsewhere, and about a level lead over Fnatic. Dignitas, they're making it work. They know what they need to do. They've got a game plan, and they're sticking to it. There's like screaming happening around us.
Dignitas also normally when they're looking at the Web Weaver phase puts a lot of priority over to the mid siege, and if they can drop that middle fort, then kind of really manipulate some of the transitions that Fnatic can have happen, but without getting that middle fort dropped, it's not going to be as big a playground for Dignitas. It is weak enough that with the level advantage that they have, it's likely that they can secure the 10 spike, and then look for those picks and denying the Web Weaver phase an opportunity for Dignitas, or excuse me, Fnatic. And with Breeze having 45 gems, you know that's got to be a focus. Iron Skin's still here, so JPL not going to have a hook opportunity, at least not yet.
I think the cool thing about this temporal is it basically functions like a double hook too. One of them forces the bunker, and then the other one, as long as it hits, allows for Dignitas to keep someone there, and then all the while you have this control from Xaylia, and potentially the isolation that I talked about with Stay a While, Listen, and Gorge. There's Stay a While and Listen.
With the
Entomb.
advantage, yeah, they get the Entomb, and the Smexy is actually under a lot of pressure. He drops the Lurking Arm, and as you see down below, they end up getting another kill here. Dignitas with the 10 advantage. This was a very clever rotation. They're going to pick up the Knights. They are going to get this middle keep, or middle fort. But the silver lining for Fnatic is that 53 gems still reside on Breeze, so surely they have an opportunity to get a Web Weaver phase. But Gilly, with how big the experience is in favor of Dignitas, I don't think it's likely that Breeze gets that turn-in anytime soon.
No, I am 100% in agreement with you because Team Dignitas are able to get their turn in very soon. They have this big push in the middle lane with the bruisers that did damage to the keep towers. And what they're doing is they're pushing out the other lanes, using Wubby here toward the top and then even Chromie in the bottom because they had forced back Fnatic so much, and Fnatic were concerned about the heroic abilities that had just been used from Team Dignitas. Dig have some pretty low cooldown heroic abilities like Entomb, and then with Temporal Loop there's always a threat, and Hooks there's always a threat from Team Dignitas, so Fnatic had to play extra safe there, and that gives Team Dignitas a Web Weaver phase, the bruisers, and they're going to try to push these lanes hard.
Shout out to Poik there, doing his best on that little Chromie to make sure he kept that Night Camp aggroed so Dignitas can stack this through the middle lane, which they have already pushed so very heavily. The biggest thing that I was talking about before, Dignitas likes to prioritize mid because they can control a lot of the rotations. That's between mid and bottom most of the time because there are two angles to cut off your opponent if they try and defend whatsoever. So I would expect Dignitas to try and get value on the top half and then expect an extremely aggressive transition down to the lower half of the map, maybe get a bit more damage onto that keep middle wall as they already have, again, that Night Camp looking to join in. But for now, kind of poking and prodding, questioning, can they land themselves a hook combo that this composition is built to do?
Fnatic's trying to stay behind the fort, stay behind the minions too. JPL, ever watchful to see who he can get from this. Monster push in the mid with the bruisers, the spell armor there. The Breeze is gonna engage, and Genji is gone.
Very well done there. The Blessed Shield into the Lurking Arm combo, not going to have any kind of response for Dignitas. And at this point in time, Fnatic needs that kind of trade. They really are so far behind in this game that they need to get a couple of those kills, not only for maybe an opportunity to rid of gems, granted there were none in that circumstance, but the experience. It is falling kind of apart for them. As we have said before though, gems have not been lost really for the most part. Maybe a couple here and there, but when looking at the gem count for Fnatic, it is 118. They really can turn this game around, but they need to find an opportunity to get a turn-in, and with only top four standing, that is the most realistic turn-in for them to have. And Dignitas, they see this. That is why we see them looking for the goaltending, setting Leo into off lane in case that's a problem. And the question is, can Dignitas use this 13 advantage long enough to either get the combo that they desire, or, again, deny a turn-in phase for Fnatic?
Well, they've turned in 34 gems, so they're a little over halfway from where they need to get that next turn-in, and it's a little while out still until Fnatic has that 13, so I think the big question is Fnatic willing to aggress forward without those 13s, given the fact that they have 121 gems? Or, yes, it looks like they are. They sent out the Dragon's Arrow. Hanzo's the one who goes down, though, and this has gone from bad to worse for Fnatic. They lose their Hanzo. And now Team Dignitas smells blood in the water.
Great job there from Breeze to be able to wear the Iron Skin and wear that hook to make sure nothing else happened against Fnatic here. But Dignitas, after that one pick, and make a quick march in transition towards the top half. They will not have an immediate Web Weaver phase after this, as they still need a couple of gems, a couple of waves to make that happen. But Fnatic does have enough for a solo turn-in. So in this downtime, Fnatic has the opportunity to start the Web Weaver phase. And normally, Gilly, I look at this and I go, if you to get this turn-in, you're wasting your time. But I want to raise this as to this boss is going to be a problem. The Web Weaver phase will kind of stall each other out, cancel it out. But there are enough gems behind this that Fnatic can set this to a dead even game. So though Fnatic or Dignitas has controlled the majority of this, I look at this and I go, Fnatic feels very comfortable in the stance that they found themselves in.
Right, they should be able to push out enough because they're going to be able to get 13 that they can have a better control for the next turn in and then try to get that behind it. So it's that one that Dignitas is going to want to try to clear out these as fast as possible. Jet Propulsion hits 2 though, and that is Wraithlock for 1, but the second is Stonlocked. It's Genji again. A Snitch falls and Fnatic find a kill.
Johanna is going to be in the bunker. JPL with that Future Bile, able to get the retreat here. Look for a hook opportunity, maybe over the wall, but without the Genji, it is going to be Dignitas here. Very, kind of struggling to hold the defense because this composition is based around either a hook combination to get Snitch that reset, but when Snitch is dead, it's going to be a major problem, or Chromie to set it up. Dragon's Arrow is another whiff here as it goes through Team Dignitas. And Dignitas now about to round the 15. This is where Fnatic has to force the fight, and they're going to here onto Wubby, body blocking him into the lurking arm. Breeze is not letting him pass. Stay a while and listen is interrupted by the Condemn there.
Unfortunate Jet Propulsion went around the fortress, barely not hitting, but the silence was good to slow down JPL. But he just wasn't stun locked for long enough, the same way that Genji was. It was an excellent job by Fnatic to get that Genji kill. That's something that Fnatic have been known for a very long time, is their ability to chain crowd control so effectively to blow someone up in an instant. That has been such a problem for Snitch, is his Genji, not only in this game, but last game too. And Fnatic has gotten a lot more out of that tournament than I think ever thought possible, purely off of that one pick and Team Dignitas retreating. But now 16 is here for Team Dignitas. They're working on moving back out onto the map.
Still 3 seconds till a turn-in is an option. Leoric has shown himself on the top lane, and that means that Fnatic knows they have the upper hand, a man advantage in the bottom half. Wubby will be able to make the transition down, though, and deny off here. Hook is going to come up in about 8 seconds for JPL, but he's not going to... I expected a rotation through the Knights off to that side here, because last time we saw the Talontier advantage, Dignitas did not let this Night Camp go for free. It's pretty predictable that this is the rotation for Fnatic, so I wonder what Dignitas is going to do instead here with this downtime. See them, it's going to be a Night Camp stack with their own Web Weaver phase, assuming they get the turn-in with the 16, but that's one of those moments I think I would have liked to see Dignitas force with the 16 where they know they can, but maybe they'll be able to do that with the Web Weaver phase. JPL still goaltending on the top half.
Yeah, for Team Dignitas, they want to get these waves pushed back out. Top and bot were significantly pushed in since the forts went down. That gives Fnatic more time to get closer to 16, but Team Dignitas now getting the bruisers, have the lanes better pushed in their advantage. Let's see what they want to do with this, where they want to siege. Remember, they've already done some damage to the mid, to the keep towers there, given the fact that they had that big push with Web Weavers and the bruisers earlier on. So if they can get this monster push going again, this might be where they find the first keep of the game.
But again, I want to raise a situation that Dignitas found themselves in about 30 seconds ago. They had the option to choose a fight with 16 into 15 over a Night Camp versus what is going to be a 16 into 16 behind the Web Weaver. It's still advantageous for Dignitas, but it is no 16 power spike. And if you're Fnatic, you go, that's going to be our window of opportunity. Dragon's Arrow needs to connect in this rotation, though. Otherwise, I'm confident Dignitas will be able to walk away once more. Wubby uses the Wraith Walk. Breeze cannot Iron Skin and Entomb, and there we see it is. It's going to be the force. That's 40 gems here, Gilly.
Yes, it is. Dragon's Arrow is going to slow that down. Blessed Shield to follow up. They've got to stay a while and listen. The Bile is going to wake up, keep Breeze alive. Mene gets into a combo, but there they have the bunker, and Mene stays alive.
Nice sidestep there from Breeze as well to dodge the hook, and so no gems left on the battleground. Top Web Weaver still very, very healthy, threatening to keep up Fnatic, and still 16 is nowhere to be found. And Dignitas just wailing away, breaking the base here on the bottom half of the battleground. Fnatic
Mid keep down.
losing everything here. Dignitas in full control, but the 16 is here. Where is the play going to be? Because without the Dragon's Arrow, I don't know if they have it.
There's still a Dragon Blade if Snitch wants to go in. Another hook hits. There's no Iron Skin this time, and a Dragon Blade cuts down Johanna. 1 kill already for Team Dignitas as they're looking for more.
They're going to be trying to get a little bit here. Benny did get a majority of those gems. Snitch going in with that Swift Strike. Not going to have enough to punish him here, and Dignitas is just going to whittle away here, knowing that Johanna is dead for another 28. This is their keep on the bottom half. They have dominated this battleground, completely manipulating it into their favor. And from this point on, it is just what are they going to use for lethal? The biggest thing for Dignitas is waiting out the 20 spike, and then actually they might not even wait out the full 20 spike in the Webweaver phase like most teams would. Because without that boss available, that typically is the win condition. They might just shark around here for a couple kills, and it looks like that's the decision. Quacknick's way far out. Gonna get dismounted.
Wubby, looking to get the follow-up from this. Has the Entomb, but waited and dropped it after the bunker. There's no way out of this one. Generally, you have the bunker on the other side of this. They're still going after Quacknick's, but somehow he has miraculously stayed alive, and it's a 2-for-1 in favor of Fnatic. What?
That was an amazing play from Fnatic by dropping that bunker, hitting the jet propulsion, and allowing to buy enough time for Quacknick's to make out. Yeah, Quacknick's ended up going down, but a 2-for-1 trade in favor of Fnatic, that is colossal when looking at the experience recovery. And again, we have to highlight what those gems look like here for Fnatic. They do still have opportunities to turn this around, but there's so much pressure. Yeah,
it's a long road to recovery. But it starts with Webweavers. If they can get that, they push back the lanes and get the relief off of the core from the 3 lanes of catapults that are barreling toward them. 20 available for Dignitas. Remember, they also have Leoric. He's going to pop back up right around where Fnatic were, but it's just enough time for Fnatic to get some gems turned in and get some Webweavers.
There may be near enough gems for one Webweaver phase after this point, but which makes this Webweaver phase that much more important for Fnatic. As we talked about, though, with how much pressure there is, those catapults pretty much are a direct counter to the Webweavers. They really just negate everything they want to make happen there, as the splash damage is just too difficult to handle. Chromie and Leo are also a nice addition there, getting the damage out on the top half. Bottom is going to be the only one of any kind of significance for Fnatic. And still without 20 anywhere near, it's going to be what can they make happen after this point in time, as they are just now rounding enough for another Webweaver phase. They try and go for the combo on Wubby, and they get it. But that is just a Leoric, ladies and gentlemen. They will be back online before this Webweaver phase becomes problematic. Even so much so, Dignitas should just wait as long as they can to get this kill, because that stops the boss opportunity available for Fnatic.
But with the clear, if this clears out before Leoric is back, it might be enough for Fnatic to
real smart play.
Do something from this.
Dignitas make the rotation. Fnatic needs to capitalize on the fact that Wubby is not going to be here 20 seconds out till he's back. Mane is going to get temporal loop. The combo goes down, but body block there by Breeze. It doesn't matter. Mane is still dead. They're not able to make it to the bunker. Hook back into Benny. He has one more chance into that bunker, but Dignitas has just focused it down. And with that, another reset for Snitch. 2-for-0 for Dignitas. And with those kills, it's just a Boston GG.
I'm not sure why bunker wasn't used maybe earlier on so that he could get inside of that, but that is very unfortunate for Fnatic. Now Team Dignitas have enough for a Webweaver phase, have enough, or have the ability to get the boss with the man advantage, having Leoric back on the map now too. Dignitas can choose any which way they would like to close out this game, and they're going to choose both option A and option B.
A little bit of each one of them here. Probably one of the most satisfying moments in a shot caller position you could ever find yourself in. You're literally going, hey guys, how do you want to end this? At this point, we might be able to poke and prod. They're going to try and force the fight here. The last stand for Fnatic. Poik gets under a lot of pressure, but he is going to time out Quacknick's, getting tracked down by Snitches. He got that Dragon Blade. There is the reset. Scatter Arrow sets him very low. Condemn is going to be used along with the Biomaster Shield buff. Boss is not going to be picked up here. Actually, it is at the last second. But with so many members of Fnatic dead and the Webweavers alive, I feel like it is too little, too late.
Fnatic took the fight they had to take. Team Dignitas had to know that Fnatic would go in and try to do what they could there, and they made an admirable attempt with the 3 people they had. But unfortunately, that now means that Benny and Li Ming are all that stand between Team Dignitas and the Fnatic core. Everything used to take down Benny. He will pop the bunker, but it is not going to be enough now, although he lives for a long time.
It's going to be buying time. But that time is going to allow those Webweavers to move up. Another Wraith Walk from Wubby. He ends up hitting that Drain Life. It should be enough, the Drain Hope there to get the kill. Wubby able to make it out of that max range, but Dignitas now set their eyes onto the core. 7 seconds until a Dragon's Arrow to peel off, but it's not even going to allow Hanzo to spawn. Dignitas here fight back and able to tie up this series 1-1.
And that's exactly what we want to see in the Europe versus Europe showdown. It's an elimination match. Only one EU team gets to move on between the two and face the sole remaining North American team here at the Mid-Season Brawl. So of course we want the best of these two teams, the one who might be able to take on Tempo Storm, and who will certainly look to take on the Korean teams that remain.
Yeah, and you know, though I do always kind of give my criticisms when we see the Chromie and the Genji, one soft synergy I never actually considered until watching it very effectively throughout that last game is, I mean, everybody knows the Entomb and the bunker, the trade-off's a little bit risky. But when you have that Chromie on top of it, just one-shots the bunker in the downtime. Benny never had a double bunker opportunity. That's most of the time what we see save lives. Like, look, for instance, on the top half of the battleground, Quacknick surviving in that amazing skirmish, but Dignitas got control of Tomb and really just never let go.
Well, that was an amazing game, and I can't wait to hear what our analyst panel has to think about it.
That's right, thank you. 1-1 at the moment here with Dignitas tying up the series. I was especially excited to see proper tank Stitches come out with the proper tank build. They're very rarely used nowadays. Sometimes you see him complementing with the slam build, but overall worked out for them. Very strong performance there by Dignitas.
Yeah, I don't know why we ever doubted JPL Stitches. Trick called it and was like, yeah, if anyone can do it, it's JPL. And we were 100% right. The fact he was able to pick off so many kills. And also, I unfortunately didn't get it in the replay, but I do want to talk about that. That last fight, Chromie's timeout, was so clutch on no health, and so many people had to just stay near her that they got wrecked in the boss pit.
Yeah, I really felt like Dignitas looked over to JPL and Poik and was like, all right, guys, this is your game. Carry it for us. Let's get to this game number 2, and we'll go into game number 3 and have another reset. And they did really well. I mean, Poik sieging away constantly, but the main focus for Dignitas in the early game was getting that turn in. They put every single gem off they could, made sure that once they found some kind of rhythm, they kept that rhythm up and ran with the tempo. And you can see why. Again, put JPL on Stitches, he will deliver you a W when it comes to the battleground.
I'm pretty sure that Fnatic expected Stitches and was baiting them into it, but it worked out better for Dignitas than expected. And their ability to just shut down the objective and control it and make sure that Fnatic didn't get access in the early game to it, that's definitely what, in my eyes at least, was what won them the game there. The early game control that I actually thought would end up in the hands of Fnatic over Dignitas, but they proved me wrong there.
Techon, what do you have for us? So
we have one of the earlier on fights, pre-level 10, just hitting here. Let's take a quick pause. So what you just saw here is what could have been considered a pretty okay move by Quack, but unfortunately he wasn't paying attention to the minimap. He went over the wall here. This was to give himself a better angle to get all these scatter arrow shots against Wubby, to give himself as much damage output as possible. Unfortunately, as you can see here on the minimap, that's not the people you want to run into. Bad Betty tries to move in range to get in range to save him, but too late. Quack's already gone, and in the meantime, Wubby, he's only tanky. That's all he needs to do, taking care of the Stukov as well, and able to pull off the double kill there, which is what really began to let them snowball into the lead. Even though they already had this 1 and a bit level lead, moving in with those level 10s was perfect timing.
It's not quite late night, but meeting Dignitas down a dark alleyway here on Tomb of the Spider Queen was not the plan. But unfortunately, they were punished for it. So looking now forwards, what do you expect here as a response kind of from Fnatic to try and deal with the position that they're in? Because this seemed like a bit more of a restoration of Dignitas where we expect them to be in this series.
I don't really expect that Fnatic is going to have any trouble heading into the next game. I think it was more so a question of can Dignitas pull it off or not. Because looking at Fnatic, they came in as the underdog. There's no pressure on them since they are changing players after this. But Dignitas is expected to come out and stomp. So for them to lose the first map, that was more so my question, how are they going to recover? Fnatic has been in that spot before. Against Method, they fell behind by 2 maps, and they came in with a fresh mindset and worked out for them. I think this game just spiraled out of hand too much. The replay that they showed, actually, it wasn't only the positioning that we had from Quack, they were going up against the team that had already level 10. So that's the fight you should never even take. So they were so far behind at that point already that I think that was just one of those Tomb games where you lose control early on, and then the game just like walks away.
They weren't able to zone against the level 10 team, so it ended up just turning into a fight that Dignitas had all the right to force, and Fnatic weren't playing and reacting around that at all.
Yeah, that was really the issue. Dignitas playing well in the early game and Fnatic staying with them. So going into the next match, as long as they can stay even with them when it comes to experience, they should be fine going to 3. I guess if I were to change that draft at all, maybe that Li Ming was a bit questionable for me, but only in hindsight because he needed a little bit more wave clear. Li Ming, great there. Nice safe pick for trying to watch out for Stitch's hooks, not getting caught out. If you get a kill or 2, you can move forward, but because they were so far behind, it never really paid off.
Well, I mean, there is validity in saying that Li Ming on a map like Tomb of the Spider Queen is strongest in a defensive position, in a defensive stance. And we did see some pop-offs towards the end where a lot of damage came out, but that's when you're on the back foot already anyway, and you don't really want to reside yourself to the idea of, okay, we're going to be on the back foot, let's take Li Ming. It wasn't a really hard sentence to say, that was strange. but I get your point.
Totally.
So thoughts moving forwards. We don't know what battleground we're going to be going to yet. We'll be getting confirmation of that soon. Any theories?
Yeah, maybe like one thing that I wanted to point out is that I still find it interesting how much Junkrat has fallen.
Yeah.
Because that was a
He's
go-to
gonzo.
pick for Fnatic, especially on Tomb for a long time. And if anything, when we're talking about swapping out heroes, I could have even seen them not going for Hanzo, instead putting Quacknix on Junkrat in league play. So he has completely fallen off, and nobody really respects his wave play at this point. So I'm actually curious if at any point he jumps into a composition again. Don't get me wrong, we had good heroes against him. We have Genji, we have Chromie, they can exploit his hit point pool, but just looking at Mid-Season Brawl so far, that was one hero where I was certain that he would play a role. The question was just, how big is that role? And right now, he has completely disappeared.
Yeah, it feels like with the double tank coming out, that he's just fallen off a little bit too much.